What's up everybody, my name is Ika. Today we're going to be talking about a new dungeon crawler game released on Steam called Caveblazers. Now this game did just release, but it released for $9.99, at least here in the USA. Your price may vary elsewhere in the world. The developers officially call this a roguelike, and I tend to disagree. This is more of a roguelite, where it takes some things from the genre, like a slight permadeath system, as well as some randomly or procedurally generated levels, as well as some procedurally kind of randomized boss fights, but it doesn't take all of the things that would define the genre. So let's jump in and look at some of the gameplay elements that make up Caveblazers. As you make your way into the cave for the first time, some of the things that you'll notice is there are two different types of weapons that are available. You have a ranged weapon, and you have a melee weapon, which you start with as a sword and a wooden bow. Now these can both be upgraded with randomly dropped enemy weapons or weapons from crates on the ground. Those weapons can have different properties or even different types of attacks. Something like a trident bow can only shoot towards the ceiling, and when an arrow hits the ceiling it will then bounce down and rain arrows down on enemies below it. These can make the gameplay a little bit different each time depending on what items drop for you, as each thing can kind of influence your playstyle. If you get a super great bow at the very beginning, you may lean more towards an archer playstyle for that playthrough. You'll also be able to power up your weapons and your characters through the use of blessings in the game. Now blessings take the form of these shrines or sometimes floating icons on the levels that you touch, and they give you a specific power. Now these can be things from increasing the power of your arrows, to making your arrows trigger bomb explosions, to making it so that every single time you kill an enemy with a melee weapon you gain 3 health, or maybe every single time that you kill 2 enemies you gain 1 maximum health. These blessings are essential to being able to make it through the levels, so be on the lookout for them as you dive deeper and deeper into the caves. Now there are shrines in the game that allow you to pay the gold that you pick up, or even life points to gain other benefits, some of which include things like increasing damage or fully healing your character. So one of the things that does stand out about this game is that they do have a fairly good artificial intelligence for their NPC and enemy characters. Now enemies do have great pathfinding abilities, which means that they will generally be able to find their way to you. It makes them a little bit more difficult and can lead to your player character getting attacked in places that you thought were reasonably safe. Now while this game is not multiplayer, there are Npc Controlled Adventurers who will follow you into the caves, or who are already there. They act like other player characters, and they can help you along your journey. Now these follow the same pathfinding as enemies, so the pathfinding is good, and these characters will follow you for a reasonable distance. Learning to rely on these NPCs to go ahead and clear a particularly difficult room can be important to getting the treasure that is in that room without having to take the risks of actually attacking those monsters yourself. Now sprinkled throughout the game are boss rooms. Bosses are random in which ones appear when you enter the boss room, but they all share the fact that they are very difficult to kill. So bosses will have a health bar that appears at the bottom of the screen. Each boss is different. It requires different tactics and different strategy to kill. They are actually quite hard to do. You will spend lots of time getting to boss rooms only to be wiped out by that boss, and because that boss is random, it means that you can't necessarily learn a boss over time, as the next time that you reach that boss room, it may very well be a different boss. Now, when your character inevitably dies, you will be greeted with an experience screen that tallies up the amount of gold that you've gotten, enemies that you've killed, and items that you've gathered, and allows you to get experience towards unlocking new things for your character. Now, each time that you level up, you will get a random piece of gear. Now, this gear is only cosmetic, but does allow you to change the look of your character. Now, on top of cosmetic gear, you also have the ability to unlock things called perks. Now, perks do allow you to change the way that you're going to play the game through different runs. Things like being able to increase the damage of your arrows, things like being able to shoot 2 arrows at once, but then you don't start with a melee weapon, things like starting with a wand and increasing your magic damage, but lowering your overall health. These perks allow you to kind of change and shift the way that you want to play the next run. Now, if you've gotten to the point where exploring this normal dungeon is easy and you're no longer enjoying that, there is a daily challenge mode that is available that you can try once a day that imposes certain limits on your gameplay. Now, when you start the game in the daily challenge, it will give you a list of all of the things that are imposed for that specific run through. Things like being able to start with a specific type of weapon, or there may be more monsters may be harder, bosses may be harder. There really is a huge list of things that could happen. It'll start you with specific items, and it will give you specific blessings when you start. Blessings may not be available throughout the rest of the playthrough, so you really are limited to what the rule set is for that day. And this is a great thing because it allows you to really get some extra out of the game, and you can just kind of play this one daily mode, and then that's the one run through that you've had for the day. So I think it's a great addition to the game that will hopefully keep it fresh for longer than what would have normally been for just this running through the caves and running through the dungeons. Now, while this game is not the most beautiful game that you will play this year, the graphics are acceptable. It fits very well with the theme of the game. I do enjoy them. I enjoy the sound quality that they have put in. They have very nice samples. Everything seems to be reasonably well timed to the animations. The controller scheme is a little bit harder. At the beginning of the game, it does tell you that you should be using an actual controller. I agree with that. Plug in your PlayStation controller, plug in your Wii U Pro controller, plug in your Xbox controller, but using the keyboard for this game can be a bit of a trick and take some getting used to. So you'll have much less of a learning curve if you plug in your controller. Now, for $10, you can't really go wrong with this game. It's very good for a dungeon crawler. You will get many hours of entertainment out of it, and if you're the kind of person who will go back and do the daily challenge every day, you may even get months of entertainment out of this, at least for a couple minutes each day. If you liked this review, hit that like button below, hit the subscribe button for more, and if you've played this game or you're looking to play this game and maybe you're going to pick it up, drop me a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks everybody, and I'll catch you in the next review.